Hello, this is PJ Kirkpatrick from Loc8 and welcome to Loc8 Academy. Today we're going to demonstrate navigating the viewer window and the Loc8 workflow. Let's get started. Now that we have the program running, I want to point out a few things before we go into the viewer window. If you look in the lower left hand corner, images saved, this number here is representing the number of hits that the program has identified. Remember, a hit is the location of an object that has a pixel with the color falling into the range of colors in the user-defined color palette that we created up here. So let's select on the viewer window, or the viewer button, and that's going to bring up the viewer window. Now quickly you can see that there's a red circle in the upper right hand corner, and if I take my mouse wheel and zoom in, I can see these red dots. Now these red dots are basically the hits that the program has identified. Again, it doesn't care what the object is, it's just looking at color. Another thing we did is to make the process a little bit more efficient is we added a few buttons on the bottom of the screen. Zoom to object, I can either click this button or I can select the Z on the keyboard and it zooms right into the object. If I hit Z again, it zooms back out. Now in the workflow, we want to make sure that we do not delete any of these images in case we have to review them later on. So there's a couple buttons over on the left hand side of the screen. There's archive button and a flag button. Again, you can click the button or you can select A. I like to select the A on the keyboard, it's a little bit more efficient, and that's going to put it in the archive folder. Next image is a similar image. It looks, because keep in mind, when this data was collected, we had about 80% overlap, so you can expect to see similar images. But hopefully this process speeds that up. That's a flag. I'm going to archive this one as well. This one I'm going to zoom into, and here is the image where the missing person is located. If I zoom a little bit closer, see these red dots on the jeans? Those are the pixels that the program has matched with the color palette that we had done previously in the previous video. I want to point out another button, View Original. If I select this button or V on the keyboard, those red dots are going to disappear. Now as I move my mouse cursor over, on the left hand side of the screen over here, it's providing me what that each pixel number is representing. So I'm going to hit this button again, put those back, hit Z, zoom back out. Now we can let the program continue to run, but because time is of the essence, we want to make sure that we can provide some data to the incident commander, whoever's in charge. So on the lower left hand side of the screen we have this latitude and longitude information. This can be provided to them very quickly. Now we've developed this program not to rely on the internet. However, if you do have internet access, there's a button over here called Show Map. If I select this button, it's going to bring up Google Maps. One thing we liked about Google Maps is that with this information, you can quickly share the latitude and longitude simply by clicking the share button, copying the link, and then either texting it or emailing it to folks out in the field. If I turn on the satellite view, again this latitude and longitude is taken from the drone and the image of the XF data, metadata from that image. I'm going to close that out and go back into the program and continue on the workflow. So I'm going to flag this image, and because we want to include these images in the final report, which we'll demonstrate in the next video. I'm going to flag that image. I'm going to flag a few of these images I go through. I'm going to archive this one, archive that one. There's another feature I wanted to highlight. Let's say as you're reviewing these, you have multiple circles in your image. If I select Z, it's going to zoom into the first circle. If I select Z again, it's just going to move on to the next object that the program has identified in that image. If I hit Z one more time, it's going to zoom back out. So again, you can quickly review what the program has identified. I'm going to archive this one, move on to the next. I'm going to flag these images. Now for the sake of time, I'm going to close this out so that we can go to the next step. So to summarize, step one is to select the viewer button. Step 2 is review each image that the program has identified as a hit. And step 3 is close the viewer window. So now that we have reviewed the hits and started our analysis, we can run the report.